What's up, guys? WWII here, and recently, me and a few other YouTubers were invited out to Texas by Gaijin, the developers with War Thunder, to celebrate the release of Steel Generals, which is the US tank release. Now, the reason we got invited was to not only test out the game and the US tanks, but to actually ride around and operate on some of these actual tanks. Now, the 3 tanks that we got to actually, fire the guns on, ride around on, fire the machine guns and see up close was a M4A1 Sherman, M24 Chaffee, and an M5A1 Stewart. Now, I'm no stranger to tanks or armored vehicles. My time in the Marines, I spent a good, vast majority of that time in the Marines in the back of an LAV-25. I've driven it before. I have fired its 25mm Bushmaster. I was familiar with everything that tank had, ins or outs of it. And so to me, compared to a lot of these other guys, it was their first time ever being in a tank. To me, it was just, it was a tank, whatever. I spent a lot of time in a tank, but it was the history behind these tanks which really got my attention. So many men died during World War II and gave their lives to, destroying the Nazi Empire in these tanks that it was just a profoundly historical moment for me to even be up closer inside these tanks, especially the M4 Sherman. The M4 Sherman, which is just iconic in World War II, just the ability to be in one while it drove around, and not only that, to see its gunfire and how everything operated inside was just a huge moment in my life. Definitely one of the greatest moments in my life. Now, we got to do a lot of stuff with these tanks. We got to ride around in them, see their guns fire the machine guns, the 1919 Brownings. Of course, all of these were blanks because you can't just lob a tank shell, a 75mm tank shell around and expect it to land safely, especially in a rural area. But it was amazing. It was an amazing experience. Now, one of the things that I didn't really realize until I got there was actually how loud the Sherman was. The Sherman's engine was just ridiculously loud. And it definitely gave the feeling of just, you see all these World War II movies and, documentaries on it, and you don't really get the feeling of just that rumbling sound that you would get from like a Sherman driving, just driving by you. And it was just an amazing feeling to be around that Sherman and see everything inside. They were immaculate tanks. They were perfectly well restored. It was an amazing thing. And not only that, to see them fire and everything was just insanity. Once in a lifetime opportunity. And again, I want to thank Gaijin for bringing me out to do this. Now, we actually got to look at all these tanks in game, and all the other tanks too. But I'm not going to talk about them. But I'm going to talk about the tanks in game. After spending the day riding around these tanks, the one I got to spend the most time in was the Sherman. Because I just really wanted to be inside of a Sherman. I just wanted to, ride around the Sherman, see it. It's just the iconic history of it. I really wanted to be a part of it. Now, in game, like after you spend the day with these tanks and seeing them shoot and how they move and the suspension behind them and everything, you really get the feeling of how realistic War Thunder is with their tanks. The physics behind them and just how the gear changes, their acceleration, the engine noises as they accelerated. You really get the feeling after seeing it and then going in game that how much work they actually put into this. And while we were at this event, they were actually capturing sounds of these tanks firing and driving. The sound crews were there doing it for the update in game. They were actually using the real tanks to get the sounds for in game. And that's how dedicated War Thunder actually is to bringing the realism to this game. And after driving around in them, just getting in game and seeing them take the bumps, the acceleration, trying to go uphill, firing the guns, it almost seemed no different. I would switch to the commander seat on the first-person view of the Sherman, and I felt like I was right back on top of the other one. It was just insanity. It definitely was just a blast. And the Sherman, I didn't realize how big the Sherman was. You see all these pictures of Shermans, and then you actually get in one. And, I'm very familiar with the LAV-25. The LAV-25 is not a big vehicle. It is not a big armored vehicle. And then getting on top of the Sherman, climbing up it and looking down and actually seeing, how far off the ground you are. It was definitely an insane thing to actually see, And, of course, shooting all the guns and everything was definitely one of the highlight moments. And, you don't really get the actual sound because they were blanks. And with blanks, you don't really get that extra pop because it's not pushing the round out of the barrel, so there's not that extra concussion from the overpressure. But even firing the shells and feeling it, you can't really get the sense from these videos because you can't get the feeling of it, the bump in your chest, from just GoPros and video cameras. But just feeling it, is just the nostalgia behind it. It was just amazing. It was an amazing thing. After playing a lot of the U.S. tanks, I gotta say, I spent a lot of time with the War Thunder. As you guys know, I played a lot. The U.S. tanks are amazing. They're really well done. They got, the feeling of it is just like you're really there, like you're really operating them. Battling it out together. They're definitely really awesome tanks, and they did a really good job putting it together. Now, we went to the Museum of the American GI to film this, and they had a ton of American tanks. They had a Vietnam patrol boat, an AH-1 Gulf for Vietnam War. Just the amazing amount of tanks. They actually had an M18 Hellcat, which everyone was, of course, freaking out about it. But they're not. The ground forces update for U.S. doesn't have tank destroyers yet, so we weren't allowed to take that out. Which everyone was kind of bummed. But at the same time, you can appreciate the tanks that we were actually taking out and driving. Now, one of the great things about this event is that I actually got a chance to sit down and talk with a lot of the developers, and somebody who plays War Thunder quite a bit. It was actually really good to actually meet these guys and understand their thinking and what they feel about the game. And I was really surprised to see how much they actually cared about the game. They cared about the realism. They cared about how I'm being historically accurate over just hit points and stuff like that. And I definitely gained a lot more respect for the game and the developers after talking to them and just seeing the passion and how they just wanted to do everything right to be as historically accurate as possible and everything. And it's definitely changed my view of War Thunder completely. 100% completely. And that's why I'm even more excited for the U.S. tanks to be introduced, because they've done so many good things with them that I'm just so excited to get in there and duke it out with the Germans. Honestly, I just can't wait to start taking on Panthers with Shermans. It's just going to be amazing. Now, a lot of these tanks I've never really delved, the Stuart, I've never really delved into the history of whatsoever as much as I have the Sherman, and same with the M24 Chaffee. Now, the M24 Chaffee, I've never really, seen one in person, nor have I really looked into the history of it that much, and I was actually really surprised at how cool of a tank it was. It was so small and sleek and fast and just a badass tank, and just seeing it in action, I definitely wanted to try my hand at sitting in it and driving around with it, but there was only so much time in the day. But it was definitely an awesome tank, and it's going to be one of the first tanks I try to unlock, because it's just so awesome, and it's just such an awesome small sleek tank. Now, this event definitely was just one of the greatest moments I've ever experienced in my life. It was just an amazing opportunity, and it just shows you the hard work that Gaijin puts into it, and just the fact that just seeing these, being there and seeing these guns fire was just an amazing thing. Now, it's definitely going to change the way I look at U.S. tanks in the game. I'm definitely really excited to start playing them, and just taking my experience, the opportunity that Gaijin gave me with this experience, to use them in game and compare and contrast a lot more than I actually could before. And it's just an awesome thing. But U.S. ground forces should be out today. Definitely come play it. I'll be on there playing the shit out of it, trying to get everything unlocked as fast as possible so I can do videos on them. And once again, thank you for Gaijin, all those guys over there. You're really cool. Definitely love your company now. Thanks for the opportunity that you gave me. And if you liked the video, leave a comment, share it, like it, tell me how much you loved it. Talk to you guys later. Peace.
Who's ready to drive the Sherman?
I am.
You boys ready?
I am. We got Devil Dog, and he's the commander.
Why am I the commander?
Well, because you're gonna be firing. Are you firing?
I'm firing.
You're firing?
He let me fire the
The
76.
commander. I'll be the machine gunner. Gotta protect our 6. I'll be in our front.
So,
Be a lot of fun.
your lives are in my hand.
That's right.
That sucks. Fuck.
Oh, man.
That really sucks.